Hi, I'm Cody, a software engineer here in San Francisco. In this video series, we're recreating Lovable using LangGraph. In the last video, we took our chatbot interface and we connected it with OpenAI's API using the LangChain OpenAI library. We then had it use O4 Mini to create a very basic tic-tac-toe game, but we were still having to copy and paste the output from the chatbot into our project in VS Code or Cursor. So in this video, we're actually going to have the large language model write the code output directly to our file system so that you don't have to copy and paste, and it's a little bit closer to Lovable's experience. And let's get started. So first, we're going to jump back into our project and we're going to open up app.py. And you can see in this method, this is where we actually get the response from the large language model. So we invoke the large language model with the message that's passed in from the user. And then the large language model gets its response here, and then we just return a JSON object with this message that's kind of formatted. But what we should do before is we actually want to just save that file to the file system. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here in Cursor. I'm going to highlight this entire method call, hit Command L to put it into our Cursor chatbot. And then I already have a prompt here. We're just going to tell it to please add a part in this code where it immediately will overwrite the page.html directly onto the file system. Let's go ahead and, in fact, let's change this so that it has the correct route. And then let's send this in and have Cursor take it from there. Okay, we just got a response. Let's go ahead and click on it and take a look. Okay, you see right here, it opens the page.html and then it just writes the content directly into the file system. Let's go and see how this works. Okay, let's go back to our app here. Okay, and then from here, let's go and said, please, okay, let's say this. Please create a game of Snake with arrow keys to go up and down, or to go up, down, right, and left. Let's go ahead and send this into our, into OpenAI's call. Okay, and we just got the response. Now, we had it, it returned all the code in the chat message. Let's go and just refresh the page and see if it updated our iframe with the correct content. Oh, look at that, it did. Okay, very cool. Pretty fast. Great. Now let's go ahead and just try to continue to build on this game. Now this is a kind of a cool snake game, right? But it'd be even cooler if we could have it be in some sort of, I don't know, let's just do a new twist. Let's put it in like rainbow mode, right? Just make it kind of crazy. Say, please change this so it's not the boring normal color scheme, and make it multi-color rainbow mode, just something like that. Let's go and see what O4 comes up with. Okay, so just responded with the message, and let's go ahead and refresh the page and see what happens. Oh, look at that. It actually put the entire message in there. Here's a quick drop-in rainbow mode. You can layer over almost any existing style sheet or component library. Let's see if we click this, does it do anything? The other thing is, notice it doesn't say anything about Snake, right, the game. So let's go and give it more precise instructions. For one, we should tell it to not have all this chatter, and we should say, please implement the game in rainbow mode, and only return the code. Do not include any commentary. All right, let's see what this does. Okay, we got a response. Could you please clarify which game you'd like implemented and in which programming language? So I'm being a little bit intentionally naive here. There's a couple things. If you think about what we actually have so far, when we send the message in to the large language model, all it does is it takes the message that you type and you send it in, and that's all the large language model can see. So it doesn't have any message history right now. It doesn't have any context. It doesn't remember that we were just barely, creating a snake game. And we take some of these things for granted when we're using, ChatGPT or Claude, where they have this stuff all implemented from the beginning. The other thing too is notice how it asks what programming language it wants us to use. And you would think that was obvious, right? Because we're clearly, writing code to the browser, but we don't. The only thing the large language model sees is this message. It sees just the latest message. So even if it remembered that we were building the snake game, it doesn't know that we're putting it into an HTML page. It doesn't know that we're using JavaScript and that it needs to be JavaScript. Like you could have it where it would respond with Python and try to write it to the file system, but it wouldn't work because this is an iframe, and an iframe wouldn't render Python, right? Python's a back-end programming language, and we need something that the browser can render, so it has to be some version of HTML and CSS and JavaScript. And so this is where you actually need to start thinking a little bit more about your prompts. Now, the prompts that we give it, we could just be super specific, and that's one way to solve this. So we could say, please implement a game of Snake using, we'll say an arcade game of Snake using arrow keys to control the snake, and put it in rainbow mode, and make sure that it's a full HTML document and there's no commentary other than just the code. And we'll even say HTML document with JavaScript. Okay, now let's go ahead and send this in, and now we're giving it more of the context that the large language model needs to understand in order to accurately write the code and inject it into page.html. And now if you're using a tool like Lovable, you don't have to do this, right? And that's because Lovable has a handful of prompts that every time it gets sent into the large language model, it gives the large language model the exact context to explain the environment that it's in, what it's trying to do. And so in this video and in future videos, we're going to start building out a prompt library that we feed into the large language model in order for it to completely start to be more context aware of what we're doing, so that the user doesn't have to continually tell the LLM all of the prompt and the context that it needs, because most users won't be able to do that. And really it all comes down to the prompt quality, and we can help our users by wrapping their message in bigger prompts that give the large language model the context that it needs without the user ever even knowing that there's these additional prompts layered into the message that gets sent in with them. In the meantime though, let's go ahead and refresh our page, and now you can see we have the game of Snake. It's it's flashing different colors, and it knew to put it as an HTML page with JavaScript code, and it didn't add any additional commentary, and so now it works very perfect. So if we were naively pushing this project to production, then we could basically just tell the users to make sure that in their prompts that they always give it the full instructions in their message. But most likely users wouldn't be able to remember that and do that. So we're actually going to help them out by setting a system prompt that basically tells the large language model, this is your instruction set, before we ever even give it the user message. So in the spirit of that, we will actually be using LangSmith to hold these prompts, because as we build these prompts out, we want to test them a little bit first. And rather than having to write them all in code and refresh this page every single time to test the prompt, we can just write them directly in the LangSmith playground, test them in an isolated way in the LangSmith playground, and that way we're not having to refresh our browser window every single time and go back and forth into cursor and kind of test. And as the project complexity grows, we're actually going to have multiple prompts that will kind of chain together to give it more advanced capabilities. So that's what we're going to cover in the next video, and I'm really hoping to show you how the LangSmith playground really makes this a smooth and easy process to store all of your prompts, especially if you have a team of engineers that are working on all the prompts. This just makes it a much smoother process. Otherwise, you'd be committing all of your prompts into your source code, but you wouldn't be able to really test them and evaluate them in isolated ways. So anyways, thanks, and I'll see you in the next video.